Hey everybody, welcome back. There's something happening to the console market that nobody wants to say out loud. Not because it's controversial, but because once you acknowledge it, the entire business model starts to look fragile. This isn't about which console is winning. It's not about specs. It's not even about exclusives because, frankly, with Sony and Microsoft, those don't exist anymore. It's about the fact that consoles are quietly losing that advantage and another advantage that made them necessary in the first place. And the weird part, it's not being taken away by another console. It's being erased slowly but surely from the outside. For decades, consoles existed for one simple reason: they made gaming easy. You didn't need to understand hardware, you didn't need to tweak settings, you didn't need to manage drivers or compatibility. You turned it on, picked up a controller, and played. That simplicity justified everything else. The closed ecosystem, the paid online, the generation resets, the lack of choice. As long as PCs stayed complicated, consoles were always safe. That line is slowly leaving now. Not in theory, but in practice. Look at what's changed in just the last few years. Games launch simultaneously on console and PC, and before there was years of waiting sometimes. Controllers, thanks largely to Nintendo, are standardized. User interface design is controller first, even on PC. Suspend and resume isn't special to consoles anymore. Cloud saves are expected. The experience gap, the thing consoles owned, that's shrinking. And once that gap shrinks far enough, the questions start. Why am I paying for online? Why is my library locked to just one box? Why do I have to rebuy hardware just to keep my access? Why does backwards compatibility feel like a feature instead of a baseline? This is where the console model starts to wobble, because console makers aren't really selling hardware anymore. They're selling permission. Permission to access your games, permission to play online with your friends, permission to carry your library forward sometimes. And that only works when there's no viable alternative that feels just as simple. That's the part nobody wants to confront. The alternative doesn't look like a traditional PC. It doesn't look like a gaming tower or a desk setup either. What does it look like? Ironically enough, it does look like a console. Small boxes, handhelds, living room friendly interfaces, controller first navigation. This isn't owned by Sony, not owned by Microsoft, not locked to a generation. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Once console like stops meaning console exclusive, the value proposition collapses because now the consumer sees the difference. On one side, fixed hardware, paid access, locked storefront, generational cutoffs. On the other side, flexible hardware, one library, no subscription gate, forward compatibility by default. This doesn't mean that consoles disappear overnight. What it means is worse. It means consoles stop being the obvious choice. Microsoft sees this with their rumored next system being a hybrid. And when that happens, the entire industry shifts. Publishers start prioritizing ecosystems over boxes. Developers stop treating console limitations as sacred. And consumers stop upgrading out of obligation and start asking why. If you guys are expecting Sony to be the pioneer in some new future for consoles, don't hold your breath. They are traditionally a company that waits to see what everyone else is doing, and then they shift. Nintendo innovates on controllers, but their hardware is always behind as well. And that's why you're seeing so much uncertainty right now. Mid-generation refreshes, confusing messaging, hardware that feels conservative instead of confident. Because console makers are trying to protect a model that only works when players don't question it. And players are questioning everything now. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. This isn't a collapse, but it is an erosion. It's slow, it's quiet, it's a little uncomfortable. The console makers, they don't have a competitor problem. What they have right now is an identity problem. And the longer nobody wants to admit that, the harder it's going to be to fix. This is where a company like Valve is going to capitalize in if their system manages to get out of its little niche corner. If by chance they start selling this thing outside of the Steam store, and if SteamOS really solidifies itself as a true gaming platform over Windows. Now, only the future is going to tell what happens with that. But slowly and surely, we can see that PC hybrid fight for the living room is coming. And it's coming faster than you imagine. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, thank you for joining me. Like, share, subscribe. And we will catch you here at Star Flag Media Gaming in the next video.